So I want to ask you about your early career. You had a couple of hiccups where, it was very shaky. It was when you were at KPMG.
Yeah.
How did you navigate that new environment and the stress of getting out into a much bigger environment than you were accustomed to?
Yeah. I think firstly, before talking about that, I think it's the second or third lesson in the book where I talked about taking a risk. The first thing was going to Nigeria was KPMG Sierra Leone was fine, but then I think 6 months after joining KPMG Sierra Leone, a chance came for me to go to Nigeria. Now this is where my dad and my mom are complete opposite. My dad is the breadwinner, but sometimes I think my mom is the ironclad. So I came home with this opportunity to say, guys, listen, there's an opportunity to go to Nigeria, and I want to take it. And my dad said, no way. Because in Nigeria, then there was a lot of ritual killings, armed robbery. Every time you see something about the news, it's very negative. So my dad was completely against it. Then my mom said, first of all, if there are people living in Nigeria and surviving, it can go there and survive. She always learns to look at, if there is no risk, then you're not gonna get anything out of it. If it was, she taught me the principle, if it's easy, everybody will be doing it. And back then in KPMG Sierra Leone was when the head of the KPMG in Sierra Leone then had gone through the similar program of living Sierra Leone. And so she's saying, look at the opportunity of what would be possible if you make it. Don't look at what might go wrong. So eventually I went to Nigeria. But then in that environment where it was that stressful, I didn't realize how competitive it was. Within 2 weeks, I was hospitalized. I couldn't take the stress. In fact, the first day I left home to get public transport to work, I stood on the side of the road. I kid you not, for about 2 hours, just waiting for the tension to die down. Because there I saw that people don't wait for the taxis to stop. It's going slowly. They are jumping in and jumping out. And I'd never seen that in my life. I was like, wow. I got to the office, it was chaotic. It was a massive office in Sierra Leone, we're very small, everybody knows everybody. There I couldn't find my department in the first day. So by week 1, the stress was so much, they put me in the hospital. But then, and they said to me, look, if the tension is too much for you, you probably want to consider going back to Sierra Leone. But knowing where I came from, in fact, that statement, I think, just put some adrenaline into my body. Because if that was the only option, then I had to get out of that bed. So in a matter of few days of hearing that the possibility of sending me back to Sierra Leone, I was on my feet and I stood there. And the reason why I feel I overcome that challenge again is the underlying principle of ambition. One, knowing where I came from, and knowing where I want to go. And there was no way some guys jumping in taxis up and down is going to make me lose sight of what I wanted to do. So it has always been the focus of what's the end goal. As they always say, the end will justify the means. So I was ready to make those sacrifices because of what I wanted to do. And fundamental to that was, I think I made a commitment to say I needed to make my parents proud. It was not so much about what I wanted to do for myself at that stage. It was just the fact that going back would be more psychologically probably traumatizing from them than it was for me staying there. So I had to go through those challenges.
Another question. A lot of people, when they're facing new environments, they get scared. They get scared of what other people will think, get scared of making a fool out of themselves. But you put over here that your mom used to comment that you just asked a lot of questions. So how do you feel about questions being a part of success?
Oh, in the book, the last chapter, I call it Questions Are the Answers. I think you have, first of all, to your point, my mom used to say to me that when I was a kid, some of my dad's friends or even our own friends, they would check, they call me Ayo. They would check, is Ayo at home? Then we are not coming. because the minute you are there, I will ask you all sorts of questions. Why is the sky, the blue one stagnant and the white one moving? Why does the aeroplane go through the white and then it comes out of the other end? How can you be beating me at this game every time? Do you think you are God or something? So I always have one question. Why are you coming in this time? Why? It's always one question. So people were very uncomfortable. But later on in life, I realized that the quality of the information that you will get it depends on the kind of questions you ask. So from silly questions I used to ask to now intelligent questions, I believe in asking a lot of questions. And same thing when I went to Nigeria. But that got me into good teams, because my first thing was ask, okay, what's happening here? Who is this? Who do I need to speak to? Which department has more jobs? So I was asking the right questions to the point where when it was time for us to decide which department we go to, because they had a department handling banking and finance, they had departments handling construction, different industries. But because I'd asked a lot of questions getting into when they asked us to decide, I chose banking and financial services, and boy did I enjoy my time. So yes, if you want to develop your mind, if you want to grow, you need to know what questions to ask.